I don't care if you got a nice car. I don't care if you got a cool website. I don't care if you got the thickest business card in town. Like none of that stuff matters online. This is a different ecosystem.
Yeah.
So we got to use the only thing that we can, which is the video content that helps you create that connection. If you look at real estate, everybody believes, yes, this is a relationship business, but there's so few people that are actually creating a connection with the people that they're trying to market and promote to. Everybody has access to Facebook ads. Everybody has access to a CRM. Everybody has access to Dotloop and lenders and title companies. Like those are all things that are parts of a business that literally almost anybody has access to. What's different, the real unique value, is the connection that you as a human being can develop with the other person. That's the connection component. This is a people business. People do business with people. We're seeing all these other companies that are trying to replace the realtor are failing or losing a ton of cash in the process because they don't have the relationship component to what happens on a hyper local level inside of a community. This is why companies like Zillow still rely on the realtor to drive their business forward, because the agent's the one that can create the relationship. It's just that a lot of people aren't doing it in the online lead space. I don't care if you got a nice car. I don't care if you got a cool website. I don't care if you got the thickest business card in town. Like none of that stuff matters online. This is a different ecosystem.
Yeah.
So we got to use the only thing that we can, which is the video content that helps you create that connection. We could probably do a whole nother mastermind session on the psychology behind why video works.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly. You know, what we find is the video, a lot of agents have been using HighNote to deliver their presentations to either agents, offers to agents, or buyer presentations to buyers, seller presentations to sellers, listing presentations. One of the things that we recommend is putting the video up top, right? Because it generates that relationship. It generates the emotional connection that humans so desperately desire. So rather than just a flat web page, it's a small intro video. And so video is like so crucial and a great hack in this day and age to develop that relationship without being there.
If you look at the psychology, we're all smart people. Everybody watching this is smart. I'm certain, right? You consciously understand that we are having a virtual interaction, but subconsciously the brain cannot delineate the difference between a physical face-to-face conversation and a virtual face-to-face conversation. So when you send a video piece of content to somebody, the neurons in the brain are firing the exact same way as if you were standing in front of another human being talking to them. Right now, you all are consciously aware of the fact that we're remote, but the brain is creating a relationship because we're face-to-face with each other that is no different than if you were to be standing in front of somebody. So there's a lot of psychology behind video. There's a lot of, if we get into, even our, the reason why this works is something I call the rock principle. And it's really the fact that since everybody was a child in these Zooms and on social, you were programmed to celebritize what you saw behind a TV screen. So if you were watching TV, you're watching ABC, NBC, CBS, you were watching The Rock, you're watching whatever, right? You were building these what psychologists call parasocial relationships, which is where one person builds a relationship with a character, but the character has no idea the other person exists, which is why I call it the Rock principle. Everybody loves The Rock. Fourth most followed Instagram account in the world. He's literally universally loved. But the reality is, like, only a few people actually know The Rock in real life. But we will blindly defend this man, right? If somebody says something bad about The Rock or Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Randy Toby or like whatever, right? You are going to sit there and instinctively start defending people that you may or may not even know in real life. That's the power of a parasocial relationship, and that's the power of video content. As people are starting to celebritize in their mind realtors or other influencers. Influencers were recategorized as the newest form of celebrity in early 2020 because of the relationship they can now create with people through video content. And so there's a lot of psychology in that. There's a lot of there's a lot of psychology in why video works so well. So I don't want to tangent too far off of it because we could spend a lot. I love talking about that stuff. But the reason that this video content targeted to somebody that's interested in buying or selling a home from you works so well, it's because they're literally hardwired since they were little kids to develop relationships this way. And it makes a huge impact.
So the reason that everybody here knows or heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Grant Cardone, Wim Hof, Dave Asprey, right? There's a bunch of these people, right? El Presidente. There's all of these people. And you make a super valid point of when you connect, 9 out of 10 people, if we saw them in the airport, you'd probably walk up to them because you've already been indoctrinated, if you will, into their world. Mm-hmm. So what's interesting is you go through this process, right? You're gathering their information. You're retargeting them. You send them a text message, let's just say, or an email with a HighNote, just about you, right? There's another way that you're in front of them. I mean, what happens when you call this person? They probably are like, oh my God, yeah, right? Like I've seen your stuff. I've seen you. I've got all this stuff. Like,
exactly.
That's got to be such a better conversation than calling cold Zillow leads. Like, it's got to be 100 times better than that awkward, like, yeah, I got your information from Zillow, because you've already familiarized yourself with them.
Yes, and that's going into the next point. If we're good to move on, I'll explain like what happens, because what's happening right now. We noticed this trend a few years ago. Nobody's answering my calls. Nobody's responding to my texts. Nobody's opening my emails, and I don't understand why. This became the crucial missing element in a lot of people's companies. And so what happens is, you remember that the information is really only designed to help you win an opportunity. The relationship is what's designed to help you win the business. When you can create the connection with people, you notice an increase on the sales side. So we go back to the formula, it's attention plus connection equals appointments. So when you start following up, you can turn your agents into highly, highly, highly productive salespeople because of the connection piece. So if we get the appointment part of this right, agents close more deals, they're happier, and they work harder. Every agent I've ever asked if they are happier, if they have more money in their bank account, has raised their hand and said yes, right? So if we're closing more deals, we're typically happier with the way that business is progressing, whether you're an individual or you're on a team or you're at a brokerage. If we get this wrong, what happens is agent avoids sales meetings. They don't use the CRM the right way. They continue to ignore the sales managers or the people that are leading them. And eventually there's churn, there's turnover that exists, teams, brokerages, et cetera. What's happening, Randy, is this is in Josue's business, he doesn't have an ISA department. He uses Whitley Lead Assist. So we're actually doing the follow-up, which is an AI plus human assisted follow-up strategy that we implement. This is a live conversation. I opted into Josue's business a few weeks back when I was in Lake Tahoe. It's like 4:30 in the morning. What we're noticing is right now we're having an approximate 58% conversation rate on leads. You guys go back and track this for yourself. I can almost guarantee that your conversation rates are going to be between 12 and 24%, right? This is a huge difference. We're seeing an average 17% qualification rate, meaning that approximately 10 of every 100 leads that we generate want to be set up on a home search with you. They want you to tell them what their home is worth, which is really impactful. We're seeing a 40% appointment rate, which is meaning 4 of those 10 leads actually wants to set time to meet with you. And that's what's happening in Josue's business. And we're seeing an approximate 50% conversion rate, meaning that 2 of the 4 appointments convert. Now you go back and you look at the numbers. If he's currently generating a lead for $3.90 and he's getting 100 leads and closing 2 deals, that means his cost to acquire is in the hundreds. Like, we're literally spending like 390 divided by 2, right? Whatever the math is there. It was at 150 plus, right? Yeah, call it $200. How do you pay $200 to get a $6,000 commission check like Josue's doing? Everybody in the world would do that, right? And we're consistently encouraging him to spend more money. But what we're seeing is that when we step in and we let the AI do the qualification work, a human steps in at the right time, sets an appointment for Josue, he's happier because he doesn't have all the overhead and stress of the ISA team, right? It's literally just Whitley Lead Assist and a database manager. He doesn't have the stress and strain of actually doing the follow-up, because he wasn't doing a good job of it anyway. We've worked with him for 4 years. We haven't always done this follow-up. And he literally just shows up to appointments now and he signs listing agreements and he's happy. And he's also able to focus on all the other recruiting stuff and all that stuff he wants to do. So what's interesting is because we're getting leads a certain way, low cost, because we're creating a connection, we see this massive increase in conversation qualification appointment rates, which leads to higher conversions. So I want to teach you guys, if you're not experiencing a 58% on average conversation rate, let's call it 50 to 70%, what you need to fix is the initial text that you send to your prospects whenever they opt in. We've noticed that's the #1 lever to pull. It's the emails aren't as impactful, the calls aren't as impactful, it's the text that you send because text is driving appointment conversion. So if you're not getting a 58 of 100 leads to actually talk to you, it's the text that you want to change that initially goes out whenever they first opt in. Secondly, if you're not getting a 17% average or 40% average qualification and appointment rate, what we've learned is that the #1 thing you need to fix is your communication strategy in text format. A lot of times, if you look at how you guys text your friends and your family and your spouses and your partners and all that other stuff, you send like emojis to communicate, right? You barely even use words. But for some reason, when an agent goes to follow up with a lead, we write a Bible book.
Email. Yeah. You're like, don't send me an email and a text.
We're sending these massive like text messages to clients, and that Facebook is disruptive forms of advertising. This isn't high intent leads. This is a disruptive, like we're disrupting their focus. So if you send them a book, they literally just write you off. They don't respond to you. You want to change up your text strategies, which means you want to change up the way you're asking questions and doing some of those things.
Want to keep getting tips, hit the subscribe button as well. Thanks for watching, and we hope you get a lot out of this.